Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. Big pleasure for me to welcome you, Nicole and Tatiana, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Thanks. Jinx.
How are you doing, Nicole?
I'm good. It's early in the morning, but we're feeling great.
Yeah.
We were going to walk, but then we decided to go by public transport.
Yeah, and we almost missed the bus, but we were here, and we're here now, so that's all that matters.
How are you, Tatiana?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm used to waking up early now, so yeah, it's good.
But where do you live that if you wanted to walk? You live close by?
So we live on the other side of the park, in a place called Lappis. It was like an hour walk, but we were thinking
An hour.
Yeah, but it's all around Hagaparken, so it's super beautiful walk, and we were like,
True.
oh, it's good to get your body moving before, and
Kind of go over our thoughts and just get some fresh air. We were even going to take a bike, but then we had an object to bring, which wouldn't have fit.
Yeah, like you look very weird. walking at AFRY, everyone is looking at you.
yeah, we brought a rake. We need this rake for another project later on in the day. So, but it's a very large rake, and
like
everyone
it's 2 meters long.
Yeah, and everyone can see it, like even from like
Oh,
Stockholm Central.
We're the rake people.
Yeah, but I'm happy to have you here, and let's start with you.
Yeah.
We start with you, Tatiana.
Mhm.
How would you like to introduce yourself to our listener?
So I'm Tatiana Bodnar. I am from the U.S. I come from, I like to call it the suburbs of America, the very suburbs, right between Baltimore and D.C. So I came here to do my master's in sustainable urban planning and design here at KTH, the same as Mustafa. And I would describe myself as a very fun, social, creative, and collaborative person. So that's how I guess I would describe myself.
Nice. Welcome to Stockholm.
Thank you.
And what are you passionate about, Tatiana?
We had a lot of fun with this question because
Really?
we were like, what are we passionate about? I would say I'm very passionate about, I love to read. And I love to read a lot of things about like urban theory and things like this, and I guess more like philosophical things. I'm also really passionate about like getting people to meet and kind of creating these very fun and weird events that mostly for my friends, but also for other people too. And I'm very passionate about music and art and creating art, but also like going to a lot of exhibits and things like this.
Yeah.
Kind of all around Stockholm, but even back home when I was in like Baltimore and DC, going to a lot of festivals and things of this manner. So
Nice.
yeah.
What did you study before you come to Stockholm?
Yeah, I studied at University of Maryland near DC. I studied operations management and political science.
Okay.
So I did like a 2. In the US, it's very common to do 2 kind of,
A combination of the
Exactly.
themes or topics.
Yeah, exactly.
But how is it? Was it a lot of urban planning there or no?
No, not really urban planning. So I worked a lot in DC. So I was working mostly in like the regulators of like the housing market in after 2008, essentially.
Right.
So then I got a lot into housing policy and like affordable housing policy, especially. So I was always working in affordable housing. Then I worked at a place called like the Urban Institute and Urban Land Institute.
Okay.
These kind of think tanks. So then I just was always working in kind of very urban, mostly housing related things. And then I just decided, I decided when I was actually on a farm in Hawaii where I was working for a month that, I should apply to this
to Stockholm.
to Stockholm. And then I did. And and it
Nice.
became a reality.
Yeah. Welcome to Stockholm one more
Thank
time.
you.
And we're gonna talk more about what you do and what you work with. But
Yeah.
let's talk with Nicole and hear more about your story. How would you like to introduce yourself, Nicole?
Well, I'm Nicole Arthur, and I am half American, half Spanish. So I was born in the States. My dad is American, and we lived there for like four years, and then we moved to Spain because my mom's from there. And I grew up, I would say I consider myself maybe more from Spain because I've lived there more, and I've been more in that culture. But always the US has been in me, you know, like present.
Yeah.
And I was studying in Spain materials science, engineering.
We're in Spain.
Madrid, yeah. I
Okay.
come from Madrid, but not the center. So actually, some people think that it's not even really Madrid because it's kind of also in the suburbs of it.
Yeah.
And it's a small town, and there's just a lot of people. You meet a lot of people. You kind of know each other, you know. So then I then decided to come to the Nordics back in my bachelor's. To visit Norway because I really wanted to, you know, see the nature and everything. And then I decided that I wanted to move away from this really kind of theoretical field and go into something practical. And that's when I decided to do product design in Stockholm. And I think that what I'm really passionate about is like also in the same way, kind of being with people. I think I'm a really social person, and I think that has to do also with where I've grown up.
Yeah.
And just it can be in a really kind of relaxed way or more active. I also really like being outdoors and, you know, doing exercise, and I think share that in common too.
Yeah.
And other than that, I think I'm into really like drawing, and I mean I really like graphic design. Like I love looking at like posters and kind of seeing like, is this working? Is it not working? And I think that is something that I really brought later into my.
What do you think about Urbanistica logo? Be honest. Be honest with me.
Let's see.
Oh,
it has
shit.
yellow.
It's yellow.
It's yellow. And
yellow brings a lot of brightness.
Yeah. It looks professional. I see it and I
Thank
think
you so much.
it looks professional.
Did you make it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
No, seriously, like of 10.
Of 10.
Be honest, like I will
Okay.
not cut this off.
But I think your logo is also it's your face too, right?
Yeah.
So then
you look ugly.
No, I think it's better than just having words. I think it's your face,
Cool.
so you can associate it with you. So I think I'll give it a
minus 10.
Let's say 10. Let's say a 10.
Okay, thank you so much. Awesome. So tell me, what do you work with now, Nicole, in Stockholm?
So I'm continuing to work with the university during my
Which
thesis.
university?
KTH. Yeah, we both studied at KTH. So I continued working there, and I'm kind of like a project leader. We're working to kind of digitalize the teaching experience, the teaching and learning experience, or like not digitalize it, but kind of make it better, more engaging. And so that's my kind of main job right now. Then Fluke, of course, is on, is very present. And then on the side, I also teach I work with kids. I teach them, but I don't teach them in formal teaching way. I kind of like more play with them and learn that way.
And Tatiana, what are you working with in Stockholm?
So now I just got a full-time job back in March.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I have a full-time job. I work with Stad. It's a company. Actually, Frederick was on this podcast earlier. And,
yes, shout out to Frederick. I love him.
To Frederick. I'm the project. I'm a project manager there. I'm mostly working with Hornstull's Marknad, which is a really big market here in Stockholm, in Södermalm, which is like more of the very central part. And so it's a food market and also like a vintage and Lappis market. So I'm there every weekend. So if you want to come by, the sun is out now, so please. So yeah, I do that every week. And then I'm also working on a lot of different projects. One in Kista, one near T-Centralen, and a lot of other things with Stad, doing the social media and things like that.
Nice. So
cool.
Many things.
Yeah.
And tell me, let's talk about the name for me is like, so like before we talk about this, how, like, what is the background? How did you because you study urban planning, you study science. So
Yeah.
What's the story?
So we met on a fluke, and what a fluke is a surprising chance occurrence, especially a surprising piece of luck. So we met actually in our student community, which is Lappis, quite close to here.
Lappis is the area.
Yeah, Lappis is the formal name. It's on a mountain. There's around 2,000 students that live there. It's right like within Norra Djurgården, which is a really big urban park. So it's a very kind of isolated place. It's a lot of only students. So Nicole and I met
through a common friend in this common place. So we met, this is kind of a funny story, right when COVID, the COVID outbreak, March 2020, I was in a common kitchen visiting a friend, and Tatiana was there. She had just returned from a Lapland trip. We were all really scared. I was actually going back to Spain.
Okay.
And that was the first kind of encounter.
Yeah.
And then actually the more like formal encounter, let's say, we're not formal, like we just met and started talking, was in another common space in the neighborhood that was like, we will say later why, but it was the most green and sunny and just really nice hangout spot.
Yeah, and it was a barbecue spot too, and very sunny at like 9 p.m.
Like in Lappis or where?
Yeah, in
Lappis.
Lappis.
Yeah.
It's within, the Lappis is very kind of brutalist buildings, but
Yeah.
it's within like this courtyard essentially, and how it's positioned, it gets a lot of sun, and it's just a really nice, or was a really nice place.
Yeah. so you met.
Yeah, we met there at a friend's birthday party essentially, and then we started talking. We went to Gothenburg together on a trip with a few others. And then we just became really good friends from that. And then it kind of just,
there was also this, we all know this like kind of lockdown-y situation. So we had to spend a lot of time in this neighborhood and, look for alternative things to do and ways to have fun.
Yeah, not only party.
Exactly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the idea, like more in an official way? Okay, this is what we want to do.
Well, I think it has to do with what we were studying and that the thesis time was approaching. And for me, I wanted to do something that wasn't about a thesis that wasn't about like bringing more products into the world and kind of, filling them with just more stuff. I wanted to do something that was more social, that had to do with people. And so I was looking for a thesis, and then it was really hard.
Yeah.
Like a research question that you were work with?
No, it wasn't really. It was more, I was trying to find a project that was kind of inspiring for me.
Already an existing project.
At first. Yeah. But then it started to come up that it's actually a teacher of mine said, if you want to do something for your thesis, you have to go out with a bang and do something outside of the box. And that really stuck with me. And I think that's, it worked also with Tatiana, with how, I don't know.
What do you want it to do?
Yeah, so for me, I really wanted to do something within arts and culture and urban planning. And I really wanted to do something participatory and very action-based. I wanted to actually make things and kind of have this design process. But at least in how urban planning, is usually like done, it's very like far-reaching a lot of times, maybe 20-year plans or things like this, or you're interviewing a lot of people about their thoughts about, say, anything, so I really wanted to do something that was very like creative, is very experimental as well.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something very collaborative as well. I wanted to, and I heard from a lot of other friends as well, they were starting to do the thesis. They were doing it in pairs, especially now with COVID. It was becoming, maybe it's a good time to do this actually with someone else, because I have no clue what I'm doing.
But also like what you wanted to do, which you were doing urban design or?
Urban and regional.
Okay, it's not very common that people do more experimental thesis.
That's why I was a bit like, always I remember in a lot of the courses and a lot of the not the consulting, but when you would work with the municipality, I was always like, let's do something kind of, crazy, and just see what happens. And it was always a bit like, oh no, let's just write this document and research, And I like to research and do that as well, but it's like, this is my final time. And if I want to ever go into
it's like more your path, the future.
Exactly. Yeah. And I wanted to do that in the future. And it's like, well, I haven't done this yet.
Yeah.
I need to do this now.
Yeah.
And then,
I think that's where it was nice that, in my field, it's a lot of hands-on. prototyping, testing, working with people, being really with people at that level.
Yeah,
you know,
because
not
you deal with the
people.
product, you deal with the city.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the city is kind of a product
But it's
of
like
many,
very-
many years and so many people.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting too to see like how the city, is like co-created, and like there's so many things that you just kind of take for granted as well. But there are a lot of small little changes, and even when you're walking within the urban environment, you can see how people's kind of imprints, very like on this very micro scale, have been imprinted.
I think the city is like, it's a big product of small products,
interactions
you know?
and small people meeting and deciding,
Small
let's make
people.
a small people meeting, or large people. Anyone could meet.
Yeah.
But people coming together saying, let's start a business. Then,
Exactly.
you know,
Something
or-
happened. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you combine, like, okay, you wanted to do something more like with people, you also wanted to do something more experimental with people, and then
Then
Then I think one thing that kind of binded us together was play and doing something fun. And we were both reaching this point where we had to decide what to do. And it was kind of like, well, why don't we just do our own thing? We know what we like. We know we have these words like participatory, fun, collaborative, urban space. And then we just decided to kind of put it all together and come up with this idea of, let's make this sort of like urban space transformation that's really co-created. And I think now it's important to talk about Art Movement.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, they've been our mentors since.
They're a nonprofit here in Stockholm.
Yeah, actually, I have their news. What do you call it? Book, or they just published something. Yeah, I have it there.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to Facilitator&nbsp at the Contemporary Art Museum. I went to this really cool. This was back in September, like right before the thesis in September. I went to this really cool workshop that was co-creating the urban living room using trash, using only like the trash of Facilitator&nbsp. And there I was very inspired, and I was like, this is the kind of stuff that I would really like to do. Okay. And then I came home and told Nicole about it, and I talked to Art Movement, Sophia and Karen, and said, we really want to do these, like we want to do something with you, you know, because they were doing projects in the city. They had done multiple projects at different like organizations, and they knew Swedish too, which was a help, especially if you want to do something in public, which is, I guess, Fluke really focuses on public space, which we don't know too much about.
Yeah.
Here.
So you agreed that you're gonna do something together, even if you're studying two different programs.
Yeah. I think that in my field, they were also kind of encouraging this.
Yeah,
and,
in my field, not as much.
Yeah,
they
because
said like
Tatiana,
no one.
I know they're not allowing us to do something even with the company or something.
Yeah, they were like
do alone.
Yeah, they were pretty much like, well, I think now with COVID as well, it got a bit like it's good to be in groups.
Yeah.
The thing is, we had to write separate theses. So Nicole wrote one for product design, and I wrote one for urban planning.
But
we had the same common project.
Yeah.
But
the process, it was just the Fluke process.
And I think too, like your program is just much more into more experimental things, and
also my supervisor was really like, she is working with public space and how cars are in public space. So she was kind of already in this urban kind of field, and she was so supportive, just like, just go out, just do. Yeah, because other supervisors are a lot more like theoretical, like read, and she was about doing, and that was
Mariken was she was about reading, but I love reading too, and I loved getting the more theoretical side as well. But I think it was really good to have both, you know.
Yeah, we kind of met in the middle.
Yeah,
cool,
exactly.
Cool. And then you formulated like a research question, right? Or
I don't think it started with a research question. And I think that that's actually something that is a bit controversial sometimes, because research is done like this. You have your question, you start. So we were doing more of a practice-based approach, that it was more like, kind of know that we want to do something with people and co-create public space, but how can we do it? And then it was more of like exploring, following more this maybe designy process, and then kind of going towards the end and kind of analyzing, okay, what, you know, how what are the outcomes? But that was more like, I think
it's like a very uncommon, right? Because usually like you need like a research question, then okay, let's see how can we solve or answer this question. But you started like backwards. You do things, and then you see.
And we see, and then it's like it's a reiterative process. So you always are like, but I think what we came into in the beginning, maybe it wasn't research questions, but these kind of overarching themes. It was kind of participatory, play, and using play and not only in like this gamified sense, but very
Playful. Like it's
Playful.
more the
aesthetics,
quality.
quality.
Not like a what do you call it? Board game.
Well,
Like,
that was an idea, but it was more like, then we realized like, actually it's not only about doing these really board gamey things.
Yeah.
Like playfulness can be found in like the aesthetics, the interactions.
Yeah, there's
Those things.
In my thesis I talk, there's this theory that's like there's 4 types of play. And there's chance, there is what are the other ones?
Vertigo.
Also. Vertigo is when you just like go down a slide. Like, why is that playful? It's because it changes your,
Yeah.
So there's chance, I'm forgetting now.
Wow. It doesn't matter. At the end, it was like we were inspired by play, and also an author called Huizinga, I think it's his name.
Dutch author.
He talks a lot about like how everyone has this playful nature within them. So we wanted to, bring that out and do more fluke weird stuff in space.
Exactly.
With different ways of doing it. Like, we can.
Yeah. So Tatiana, explain to me, what is Fluke Stockholm and what is the aim of it?
So Fluke Stockholm is a collaboration and collective between many different people, where we try to co-create and co-produce more playful public spaces, and do this through play, do this through social like aspects, and do this through many other
kind of like also using kind of cheap, easy to access materials. We like giving this kind of familiar feeling to it, and bringing people together is essentially, I think, what we like doing.
But what's the aim? Like, why you want to bring people together?
I think because we want to like co-produce like a city together, and get people to do that through a very fun and engaging way. I think a lot of how urban planning is done now, a lot of it's just kind of done in these rooms where you're writing on these boards, and it's really hard to get people outside that like the usual suspects. So we really wanted to reach out to all types of people and really understand that everyone is kind of creative, and everyone can co-produce the city and has this right to co-produce the city as well. And I think that's a really important thing. The aim is to get more people to realize what is their right to the city. They have the right to not only consume the city, but also to co-produce it, and giving them the right tools to enable them that you are creative, you can come up with ideas, you just need the right way to express yourself and enable yourself.
And the site was in Lappis, where are you experimenting with?
Yeah, so at first we were going to work in Jarnsvägsparken, which was an area next to Centralen. It's like kind of abandoned, or it's supposed to be a park, but actually it's just like a cement space that is not used. And we, with art movements, we wanted to do this, but we realized it was really hard to get access to the space because of the permits, and also difficult to engage people because there wasn't really a community. Like people pass by, but they don't really stop. So that's when we realized, like, why don't we just do it outside our door in Lappis, that we have access to it. We have so many like common spaces like workshops and just other facilities. And we also have a connection to the space.
And we care about the space as well. So it's kind of like really easy to do this more bottom-up approach. Especially too, this was kind of happening as well in the same place where we met in this public space. They is SSSB, which is the owners of a lot of housing. They own around 10,000 units all around, not only Stockholm, but in different places, but it's student housing. They were developing this new paddle court within the space. And a lot of people were always just kind of a bit confused, like, why is this here? Why was this the thing that was chosen? And and when we started to do our process too, many people were saying very different things.
Yeah, there were a lot of like conflicting opinions, and this space is the one where we met. So we had kind of also a connection to it. And yeah, that was kind of, in a sense, a trigger, I'd say.
Yeah. So basically what you want to do is to redesign the public space with people, or?
Yeah, or it's also to explore what is possible within public space and what are the different options that we have. I think
and also to use public space, like that people can actually use the space,
activate it
and imprint their own ideas and things like this in a more participatory manner. And Yeah, I think the public space, especially in Sweden, there's so much public space, but not much of it is used. And there's public space and like these common spaces too, like the workshop and many different spaces that are kind of becoming abandoned now in Sweden. People are starting to, I guess, get a bit more within the private life, and it's really good to also be in public and meet new people, because that's where I guess the most serendipitous or fluke encounters can happen. You know, you can meet very random, but maybe it's for kismet, it's fate.
So Nicole, tell us more about like the how. What did you do, like the activities?
Yeah. So with this thesis, kind of did in a sense want to see it like in this placemaking process. But we broke down the activities, and we tried to kind of explore how we can make them more fun. So this led us to really using materials that we could find, because we actually collaborated with a tenant association, and we got a small budget of 3,000 crowns, and it was actually in the end really great to form this collaboration, because it allowed us to get this funding and also get support. So we were exploring how to make it more fun, and like an example is we were doing collaborative mapping of the neighborhood, and we wanted to do it with people, but we didn't want to stay on a table, asking people to just point their dot where they felt unsafe or whatever. So we developed a game, and we did the typical Easter egg hunt. So we transformed that into like an really XXL version within the neighborhood, and people had to find an egg, bring it back, and then place kind of their pin where they had certain feelings.
So, each of the egg had, so an egg would say, "You found Fluke's scary egg. This is like where we thought was a scary place. Come to our table, and then you'll get a scary pin." So then I think people were running around in the beginning, like, "Where are the eggs?" And it was like, and I think in the end we had around 100 people involved within the process. And it was kind of just a fun day as well. And people were really interested, especially we're just here like in Lappis, and we want to get more involved. We made a little parklet in a parking spot. Yeah. And people could sit down, they could write kind of just things that they, and a lot of people got really interested as well. And we also, we had some candy and focaccia from I used to work at a bakery, and I asked my boss, "Hey, can we like have some of the focaccia that's a day old?" And it's super good. Still work. It worked.
But tell me, like, so they find the egg, and how do you map? Like,
so it was actually, that was the hardest part, to connect like the kind of the people with the places and their stories, because we were also asking them to say stories about this place. So basically we would give them a pin with a number, and then they would put this pin where the egg would tell them a feeling or a place, like scary, hidden, that I like. They would put their pin with a number, and they would come back. They would write down in a map.
It's good to say too, the pin was made with a barbecue skewer and a piece of cardboard that we painted. So it was supposed to look like when you pin a map on Google Maps. But it's then you can stick it in the earth. Okay. So we would the day after, it was going to rain, so we had to go find all of the pins. Them, So we were walking around for 2 hours, like, says there's supposed to be one around this map. Where is it? Oh, there's number 37. Okay. Yeah. So this is a place that someone feels scared in. Okay. Why is this? I don't know. So it was.
So they write the feeling and they comment why.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then we made that into a digital map that we shared, and people were also able to continue adding spots.
Okay. Yeah. Did it happen that the same place people feel different?
Yes. There were controversial spaces for sure, like the outdoor gym, which is next to the paddle court, a new creation. That one had people that liked it and people that didn't like it. Of course, the people that liked it were probably the ones that used it. The ones that disliked it were just like maybe living in front, or, we had different stories.
Yeah. So what is the next step? Now you collected the stories and the mapping. You did the mapping.
The next step was the vision walk. So we did a play walk, which we called a Fluke walk, where we wanted to kind of co-create this Lappis. What is this kind of ideal version of Lappis? And kind of create this vision of what we were going to do further on. So we created this playful walk that we actually used all of the places, the most controversial and things like that, and we created a walking workshop that was all centered around games and things like this. There's her name's Lily Higgins. She makes these play walks in Rotterdam. She's we got a lot of inspiration for her. Nicole talked to her as well.
Yeah, and
tell us, like, what is it? Like,
So a
Explain.
playwalk is, we try and use urban space in different ways. I mean, there's so many things on the ground, grid patterns that you can use as a game. There, we would use the maps that were in like the central part of Lappis in the square, and we would use little, not Sharpies, but the dry board marker, make little games.
Yeah, it's essentially just playing with urban space and using it in ways that it's not meant to be used, or people haven't designed it to use. For example, a bench, supposed to sit on it, maybe lay down on it, but we were kind of like jumping on it or using it as, like, I don't know, in place to just get inspired by it.
And what do you want? What is the output, or what's the aim of doing this playful walk?
So then
it was both like a reflection and also a way to gather information. Like, we also wanted people that were participating in this workshop to feel kind of like agents of what they're gathering, and we actually call them the Lappis listeners. So they were kind of listening,
and they had to wear like outfits. We went to in Lappis too. We have Kosniks, which is this totally free store. It's pretty much a store that if you don't want to throw stuff away, you can like recycle it, and it's a totally free store. So we made them get into this role and like dress up essentially, and they had to. We all were dressed up in very weird outfits, walking around.
It
Lappis.
was just so funny. It was like a gang.
So how do you reach out to people? You have like Facebook or
Instagram, Facebook. We were doing a lot of posters too, always on like a
physical on the wall,
especially on like the trash rooms, places that people, the bus stops, anywhere that people were always gathering and waiting and stopping. We would put stuff, and we were also the first step. Even before, we would stand out in the square of Lappis. Like, this was before the Easter egg hunt, and we would just do with Post-it notes on cardboard with people. Yeah.
And
so
we made kind of a place. So we would have like a couch, statue, which is our like, statue cat. And we would just,
Seems like you destroyed Lappis with your
No, we always
took over.
We took over, and we always would like go in, and then all of it would be out like in 2 hours,
Okay, so you don't leave it just...
No, we don't leave it. No. It's like one of it was my couch. So it was just like, oh, let's move my couch down to the center.
Okay.
And then and after this, like after this vision came more the steps of like designing. And that was because we talked once with Placemaking Europe, and they were talking about, that they were interested in our tools, because when it comes to the first steps, talking with people, getting input, it's easier than when it comes to actually designing.
Make them happen. Exactly. Like the stories to more designing element, or
also not designing it us, like letting people design it. And that's where in my role as a designer, I got shook, because it was kind of like, wow, everyone is creative, everyone can do stuff. As Tatiana said, you just need the tools. So we worked a lot to make kind of these more graspable tools, like
So mapping, and then the vision,
and then we had the place prototyping game. So we made a roulette wheel with a fidget spinner and a lot of a pizza box. So that was a roulette wheel. And then the same things. There was 8 spots that you could go to transform. So that was the 8 different things on the roulette wheel. And then we stood in the middle of Lappis, and we also Nicole made these the Fluke boards.
Yeah, the Fluke boards. They were like plexiglass boards, and then people would. It's kind of like a augmented reality sort of thing. People would draw whatever they wanted on space, and then would take a picture of it. So it was like this object, this thing they created was in space.
And they had to use the vision that the other people made. So everyone was always building on what everyone else had already produced. So like in that one, the vision, like we got around 30 or 40 different prototypes. And of some people. So they would spin, I got space 1, they would go to space 1. I want Pac-Man here. They would draw Pac-Man, and then they would come back to us. And we also, another person that we worked with, there's this placemaking tool called the Play-Doh placemaking tool. It's a participatory budgeting tool that, I don't know if you know Blivande.
Nope.
This Blivande, it's a cultural house in Stockholm in the port. So they use, how they organize themselves is very decentralized. So they built this tool that's a Vinnova funded tool as well. And they were doing research. So we were one of the first beta testers of this tool. So everyone would upload on this platform, this is my idea, this is how much it would cost. And then it's a participatory budgeting.
And they would do it. Like, I think it's really important to say, like, we took a step back. Like, we were acting more as like facilitators. But they were like, uploading their ideas, assigning budgets. Of course, we had to then go over these things, you know.
Yeah,
but
to just make sure that everything is fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then from 35 ideas, the most voted were.
What were the idea? Tell us like more. You told me like Pac-Man. You mean like a
Pac-Man.
drawing or
Someone wanted to put Pac-Man on the side of a building.
Okay.
Like pretty much use how Lappis, like how one of the buildings looked. They were like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if Pac-Man was on the building? And then someone on the platform comments, well, wouldn't that be annoying for the people living there? Maybe we should scale it down. So it was like even using this
It's a conversation.
Yeah, it's a conversation of, So then,
some other ideas were like, some were doable. Like, oh, we want like a chess set, you know, on the ground.
Okay.
But others were crazy. Like
Like-
this person wanted like, okay, that one is the one that I was thinking. He wanted to have like this kind of station to skydive off a 7-story building. And yeah, he was excited about that. And there were also other ideas like creating this like coffee house.
Yeah, the DJ Sunny Sunday DJ sets. There was a lot of ideas, and we also in the next step too. The next step was the barbecue and co-design. We would just invite everyone to a barbecue, and we would pretty much say, "Well, these are all the ideas. Which ones kind of match together?"
Okay. But Tatiana, sorry for interruption.
Yeah,
Before you continue, so you had a platform with the different ideas,
Exactly.
and how much each idea cost.
Approximately, yeah.
But the person that put the cost, right?
Yeah.
And people could interact and comments and
Exactly.
so on, and then you collected these ideas and took it to the barbecue.
Exactly. Then the ones that got some type of voting, we took them to the barbecue. Maybe there was 18 now,
Yeah,
and we said,
okay.
okay, who is going to take these on as their own initiative, and which ones are going to link together? Because we only have 3,000 crowns, and also too
3,000 crowns, like 300 euro.
300 euros.
Yeah.
We had 300 euros, and it was kind of like, should we do all of them and make them very DIY? Should we do one and focus all of our money? And
yeah, and at the end, just the people that came, they were many times also like the idea generators. So they were really interested in taking on their idea.
Okay.
And they assigned themselves kind of like as project leaders, and then they got people to also help them out.
Yeah.
So then the next step, once we decided from 18, we went down to 11 because some of them, or they merged, or you know, they just kind of fell. It's fine, that too. Then came the like building days. So then people started. We would set out a bunch of tools outside, and they would meet. And we would, you know, we kind of bought the materials for them to work with them, but we really let them do these projects.
Yeah.
And we would be in the grass, laying down and just, you know, building.
paint and stuff as well. And this is all going towards, at this point in the stage, we knew kind of what we were building for. In the beginning part, it was very fuzzy, like what we were saying with this research project. What are we going to actually create? Because we were co-designing together.
Yeah.
And it became very clear that we were going to co-design this festival, this like one day kind of placemaking festival where everyone's ideas were brought and kind of like exploded in space.
Yeah. But tell me, like, because parallel with what you do in Lappis, you had the thesis.
Yeah.
How was like?
I mean, this was our thesis.
Yeah.
And this project was our
Is the thesis? Yeah. So like, what did the university say? Like, you doing crazy ideas and.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you tell them about what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have like in my case it was like weekly meetings with the supervisor, and she was all in. She was actually really inspired by it. She was saying how this was inspiring her work.
Okay.
Because then she was like, wow, I need to bring more fun elements into my own practice. She's a PhD student, Lidona. And they were supporting, but I think that they were also kind of like, okay, well, because we did a huge process.
Yeah, big things as well.
Yeah. And at the midpoint, at least my supervisor, she was like, well, so you're ready to write your thesis, right? And I was like, no.
And I think too, what we were really like, we wanted to do the entire process in a very short amount of time because we didn't want to lead people on, and like, it's all about building trust for us as well. That's why we even created the name Fluke, because they needed, like, people need a name to kind of trust. So we really wanted to create the process. And if we said we were going to do something and we're researching Lappis, like, if we say, no, why would you ever trust someone again, you know, like, or if that's asking the same thing. So it's kind of like, we want to follow through. And once it got to, the Easter egg hunt, my advisor was like, as well, oh, so you're finished. And it's like, no, we're just halfway there.
Wait, tell me about the time. When did you start like the actions, the mapping, let's say?
March. It was from March to mid-June.
Yeah.
So like 3 months and a half.
2020 or when?
Yeah. No, 2021.
Okay.
2021, yeah.
March to June.
So last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Very quick, no?
It was quick. Yeah.
It was a very quick. The thing is too, in Lappis as well, we were always talking, how long should we kind of make this process? We wanted the people, because Lappis has really high turnover rate and people are only there sometimes for a semester. We were like, the people that were started in the beginning of the process,
keep them,
have to see. So all while this was happening, I was interviewing also people from co-design, from placemaking, and getting their thoughts about their practice as well. And so we were always kind of using that too as kind of reflection points. So for example, someone said like the people that are in the beginning of the process, have to see it form together. So that was a really big part. We have to do Lappis Summer Dream Day, which was this big festival. We have to do that by mid-June, because in July, everyone will leave.
Yeah, so the people that were in the beginning see something coming out.
Exactly, and see that their efforts actually made a difference, and that they're mapping.
And there was this quote, right? Like, there's something really special in that you hammer in a nail, and then you actually use what you've worked on.
Exactly.
But tell me, like, because your ideas, did you had the idea, like the gaming, or the walking game, and co-creation, the platform, or you just like generated 1 week before?
It was generative, definitely. Like,
so you didn't have any plan.
No.
How?
We had the placemaking. Like, this is how placemaking is usually done, because in February we were pretty much like always like reading about different placemaking projects. Yeah. So we saw too, this is analyzing first, then you come and do the vision.
You mean like the methodology, you know
exactly.
what you should do, but you don't know exactly how, like the way.
We used, I think, a lot of our intuition of like, what feels fun to us? What would we like to see? Yeah. And then kind of, I mean, we had, as an example, the landlord that was showing that they really didn't, they weren't out there. So we knew that kind of what we were going to do, we were going to really, make it better, I'd say.
Playful,
playful and more out there,
engaging.
And then I think we both wrote about our thesis, during the summer, and really found, kind of understood what we have done.
And we did surveys as well, like with people throughout the process. Mm-hmm. So we were able to kind of create this qualitative and quantitative like research of kind of this very intuitive process that we designed. But yeah, for example, sometimes like for the Easter egg hunt, it was like, oh, Easter's here, or Easter's going to be here in a week and a half. Maybe we should do an Easter egg hunt, because that's a very easy thing that is already a game. It's hard to kind of get people to play in public, but for an Easter egg hunt, that's already a game in public, you know?
Yeah, true.
And it's easier to...
Yeah, it's like you have already a flow, you just keep going.
Keep going. And this thing, what Tatiana says, we've used kind of these occasions or like these excuses in a way to do something, because our thesis kind of, it ended after the summer, and then we've continued doing projects. Exactly. And in some cases it's been kind of using, oh, it's winter, let's do something winter themed, or oh, it's autumn, let's do something more like fall. Yeah. And we can so you take the opportunity, the situation, what's happening, the season, the day, the celebration. And the people we really take into account the people who's living here, like we knew that there were also some families living in Lappis, so they could also pass by and interact, and it had to be visual, really fun.
Yeah, but I think you really, especially in Sweden, you cannot fight the weather, so you really have to embrace and use all of the cultural activities that exist around that, and use it to your advantage, and like for example, in the winter we made a gingerbread house with we did workshops in Lappis for this ArcDesk competition, and making a gingerbread house is, you wouldn't do that in August, No way. It's like,
makes no sense,
right?
Like it's a special thing.
You have to use kind of the culture, and I think Lappis is really cool too, because there's so many different cultures. So you could do things that are a bit like American or maybe Spanish, but people would get involved because, oh, there's a holiday for Spain.
It makes sense. Yeah,
exactly.
So you did mapping, vision, and then ideas from people, and then selecting the ideas, and then the day of like
the summer dream.
Yeah,
exactly.
What do you call it?
Showcase. Oh, it was Lappis Summer Dream Day.
Summer Dream Day.
Yeah. we talked a lot about what is the name of this place.
What should we call it?
And my friend Kate was like, this sounds like a movie. Do Lappis Summer Dream Day. And it was
Summer
like,
dream. You're not like thinking, oh, what people will think about you. Maybe you're awkward, or
no,
you just like go for it, right?
no.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and you need to stick with it. You know,
Yeah.
like when we had this idea, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go through with it. It has to happen, and then we can learn something.
No, I mean, you didn't say, oh, no, I don't want to bring like pizza carton, or I don't want to
Oh, no,
bring
no,
out
no.
my sofa.
No, you
That was the
like,
point. You know,
that's
we
the-
really wanted to to bring these weird kind of
Yeah, exactly.
elements.
Like
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
not afraid that people say,
No.
okay,
no.
these two girls are weird. I will not do anything with them.
No. Like I think too, like our families as well, like our like we grew up in kind of households that are very like this, and we're both only children
Yeah.
as well.
So
So
we crafted a lot. We, you know, maybe we're going crazy in our minds when we were growing up. And
so yeah, we come from similar backgrounds where like I mean, yeah, being weird is no problem, you know. But in Sweden, it's a bit like, especially in public space. It's
Yeah,
a
you
bit
need
of
like to be very formal and behave and not
But it's-
really be
yeah.
personal, and
but
you
we
know.
did see how when adding these things, we actually didn't get rejection. We actually saw like people were really interested, like, oh, what's this? This
Yeah.
looks really interesting. And people were stopping,
Mm.
interacting, playing.
And especially after COVID as well, I think people were like, they always would say too, it's really nice something is happening.
Yeah,
It's something is happening again, and you can kind of see the ball rolling. And I think too now I've noticed a lot in Stockholm. I mean, even working with Hornstall Market, people are meeting again. And yeah, I think it's really like people have really kind of taken for granted that they couldn't meet for a while. And I think it's actually becoming a more social, public, and common space.
I think this is what also we missed in Sweden, like being social or ourselves when we are out in the public.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, being from American Spanish and American, people expect you. It's about a lot of the expectation too, like, oh, she's American, of course they're gonna do that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it helps too to also come from this background where in public space in the US or in Spain, it's crazy.
It's really social. Like, people already do these things kind of, and they have more access to public space.
Yeah. It's also like a lot to do with the culture, the weather. Like I'm from Iraq, and we did almost everything in the street.
Exactly.
Like playing, studying, not eating because we need to go inside. But like here's the opposite. Like you do almost everything indoor.
Exactly. Yeah.
And outdoor, not so much. Just maybe I mean, now I make it very general, but of course people do activities, but
it's not as a social life.
Yeah, exactly. It's like for many of my friends, for them it's better that they invite people indoor instead of like
you have a dinner party. You don't have like a block party.
Yeah.
The block parties don't exist here, you know? Like,
but then it's interesting because when the good weather comes, it feels like the mentality suddenly changes. Like, I need to go outside. I need to meet people.
Yeah.
So that's why we really wanted to use Lappis Summer Dream Day too. It's like, this is our dream day, and it was perfect weather.
Yeah.
Like it was perfect weather, honestly.
We also played with that, you know, like we were saying, oh, we could do it a Saturday or a Sunday, but the weather will be better on Sunday. So why not take advantage of that?
Yeah.
So
what did you do?
Yeah, so it was Lappis Summer Dream Day.
There was a schedule.
Yeah,
it was like a festival, like really a festival. We used also this graphic elements to really say like, okay, from 10 to 12 there will be a market. From 12 to 1 there's going to be some DJ, and you know we advertised this so people knew, and people knew that there was going to be something happening. What they could go to, and then we just saw so many people moving around the neighborhood, you know, going to the different activities because there were different spaces with different activities.
But tell me, how did you organize with the activities? Did you needed a permission from the police? You know, like all this, like behind the scenes. I see you didn't take any permission from the police.
No. That was a point of discussion.
Yeah, that was a very I was always like, is this legal? Is this legal? And then
my supervisor was like, she was encouraging to just do it. Take a camera. If the police comes, you film it.
And exactly. If it's you see, students can get away with things as well, but especially in a student space, because things like that happen all the time where I don't know.
It's fine, you know, like.
Yeah.
But tell me, how do you coordinate with, like you say, there are a market, DJ, and so on? How, like, tell me the details, time, people, space.
Exactly. So when we did this barbecue and workshop, we really made it a like a question, or not a question, well, who is going to take on this role and who is going to be the manager of this idea? So, for example, on, for Lappis Summer Dream Day, there was, for the art wall, there was the basketball court became this huge wall where anyone could come and paint. That was kind of the craziest one. There was around 20, 30 people at the same time, always painting on these, not on the wall, it was on paper. So there was 2 managers of that, Vivek and Sarah. So they were the ones that were managing the space. They had music, and they would come to us. We would meet in the workshop of Lappis where all of our stuff was. And then it was like, okay, this event is happening now. This needs this. We also didn't have much money. So some of the things had to share the same resources. So we really had to plan out. And I think I walked, how much? We walked so much. We walked maybe like
a lot.
I don't know.
Like a lot, like 30 kilometers?
Yeah.
No.
30,000 steps or something like that. Yeah. 25.
Well, we were going from one space to another and like really helping these managers. Like, what do you need? What are you missing something? And then we also created Facebook channel for people to talk. At the end, I don't think it was used that much because people, they knew where they had to be. They knew that where the materials were.
Exactly.
So I think the graphical design was very clear.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so there was like the juice bar, there was the chess tournament in a parking spot. So each of the little groups too in Lappis kind of flocked to one of their spaces.
And they got help from, people that were passing by and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really inspiring.
It was like what do you call it? A dream summer.
It was a Lappis Summer Dream Day. It was such a vibe. Like, I have no idea how, it was. And people too, I think the really cool thing was people were like, oh, let's go to the drawing wall. And that basketball court that's never really used that much just became a new space of what if it was a more social and creative? Because when we did the vision, so many people said there's nowhere to meet people. There's nowhere to do creative things. And it was like these people just put together this really inspiring, this is what they needed,
it really offered them space and the chance to do what they wanted. Like for the DJ, for example, we got this person that came that was a DJ. And he was like, oh, can I play my set? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. And then we kept the contact. And this was actually really good because in the following projects, we've kept contact with some of these people. And then we also wanted to bring them into it and, offer them other spaces outside of Lappis.
Yeah. So it was awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing day.
It was
amazing. What happened after then when you finished the day?
We were tired. We were like, whoa.
And we had such a long conversation with one of our friends that had experienced this. And we were just, becoming very philosophical, with the meaning of all this.
Yeah, what's the meaning of life? I have been in these moments,
yeah. So he really helped us kind of position where, our thoughts, how did it go? And, what were the processes that were happening? People were meeting each other. Multiple people were, moving around and how they were moving around Lappis as well. And yeah, I think then we started to do we did a survey and we got people's thoughts about how the whole process went and just talked to them. And then we started to really look back at all of the theory and stuff that we started in January and February and we were always doing that during the process as well. But what did we just do?
Yeah.
And then the research questions totally kind of changed based on the data that we had.
Yeah, and what you did. But tell me, this project that you selected during the barbecue, you got all of them happen or?
So there were 11 that were voted at the end, most voted, and all except one happened. And the one that didn't happen,
10 of them.
10,
wow.
10
okay,
of
that's
11.
Good.
Yeah.
The one that didn't happen was because it was really, really, really ambitious given the time. It was trying to make this gazebo. So it was going to be a huge set of cloths that were stitched together and they were covering the space and making super chill out.
This is big, no?
It was really big. And there are pictures of people sitting down, sewing it. And
I sewed that for a while.
Yeah.
I remember it was in the grass. I was just
they started or
we started it, but then it became this is not logistically possible. So we put out a sign if you want this to happen, here are the sewing needles and do it yourself. Because it was just like the sewing machine that we had too broke, so like you had to hand sew it, and it was just like not possible.
Hopeless. Tell me about the other 10. You don't need to mention all of them if you don't remember, but what like the other projects that you...
So the drawing wall, the art auction, they were in the same space. There was the Sunny Sunday DJ set, which we made DJs. We used fidget spinners again. We made it all out of cardboard, and it
pizza
was
boxes.
Yeah. So people played sets, but we just had a speaker behind.
But it looked like a DJ, you know? It was really cool.
Okay.
There was also a market on the main
Lappis.
square that people could sell their stuff there. And actually, some people actually sold a lot of stuff.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
There was the
chess tournament in the parking spot, which we were kind of scared that it wouldn't happen because sometimes there are cars that park there from SSSB. So actually, in the morning, we sealed it off. we put like 2 cones and this sign saying, "Do not use," and no one used it, so that was good.
Okay.
And
so then there was Pac-Man, and then so Pac-Man was really cool. Our friend Pete, he designed it looks like an arcade machine out of wood, and we got a Pac-Man game.
Oh, that's
so there's a projector
cool.
inside.
Yeah.
The one thing with that is it's so bright in the summer that it was quite hard
Cannot
to
see.
But around 7, so that one was around 7 or 8, and then after that changed into a movie theater.
Nice.
So then it became a movie theater with the projector, and it was like 10-ish, so it was dark enough. But it was still
So all of these are like activities that activate the space. You didn't change like the urban pace.
No.
Like a physical change.
No,
More about
temporary.
like programs.
Yeah,
you programmed areas with
programmed the
activities.
areas, and we like gave people the tools that we bought all of the stuff for the drawing wall, for example, the paper that they would use.
Yeah.
And then we had all the paint and all of the like tools and stuff. People brought their own as well, and they were just like using it. So
but it was also a way to kind of see what could be, you know, like this could be turned into more permanent stuff if wanted to. Yeah. But we also reflected how, like, in a way, it's also nice to have this pop up because it actually allows one space to be multiple places, you know. So we did look into maybe making more permanent things, but at the end we were like, no, it's better to maybe just do these pop-up spaces.
And especially too, there's like you don't need a permit if something is temporary. And temporary,
I mean, sometimes you need,
but
in your case,
sometimes you need, but it's very elusive of what it actually means.
True.
So the benefit of the doubt is on our side, I hope.
So back to the thesis. So you're done with all the different steps, right? Like mapping, vision, ideas, generating ideas, selecting ideas, and making them happen. And then what happened after?
We had to write this down. Like we had to gather it all. Like
this was in May or
this was in June. We took vacation. You know, we went to Gotland and we celebrated a week. Like, okay, we need to.
When is the final percentage? Is it June?
We went later.
Yeah.
Ours
September.
We went in September.
Okay, cool.
So because we were just like, we wanted to do this process, and we could not fit it in by May.
Yeah, makes sense.
We really wanted time to reflect as well. On our process. So we both presented in September, and you did October.
I did October because it kept getting pushed back. Okay. But for me, it was fine.
Okay, so what happened in June?
June, well, we put everything back into these storage spaces, and we actually got pulled off of it because we had so much material, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we had to kind of take the time and then organize it. And then, we took this vacation to gather our thoughts, and then we decided to... And then we had to start writing it. And we would write in the same space in Stockholm University. So we could also kind of talk between us. And, you know, there was, I think, at least my supervisor was pushing also to like really co-create also in a sense the thesis and this process and to, you know, have the same kind of thoughts
and being able to talk to one another while we're like conceptualizing it. So we both had different theories and things like this. I come from more like urban theory. Yeah. I was using things like the right to the city, like the FEB, right to the city, but also going into like the co-design of space and going into more theories about co-design and collaborative design and things of this manner. So it became, I think a lot too, like changing the research questions because I was a bit stuck on like, oh my gosh, my research questions aren't really what we did, but then it's kind of going back and reconceptualizing them and saying,
Yeah, but actually this is really common. Like you do research, you start with one question, and or even in our case we didn't, but well, we kind of did, and then you go back and then you rephrase it. It always happens, you know?
yeah,
And I wrote more, about co-creation, co-design, play, playfulness, and engagement,
yeah.
and how it works or how it worked.
Cool. Do you remember some of your conclusions or
Yeah,
no?
I remember like one of them was like, especially about participatory processes, because I was interweaving my interviews as well. And they were saying a lot that participation needs to happen at the scale of implementation, or that's one thing. So it's really hard if you are doing a project in, say, Stockholm Stad, and you're taking this small group of people that say, this is going to be the vision for all of Stockholm Stad. Because it's such a big scale, it's really hard to get people to really see why they should be participating. And I think what we saw too in ours, when we worked at this very local and small scale and very from a bottom up manner, people could see this causes this. So this is why I should.
In a short time.
In a short time. And yeah, the short time was a really important thing as well. But that's very specific to Lappis. But people need to see the cause and effect, at least, in a shorter period of time. So these smaller kind of design sprints and things like this, maybe especially for urban planners and for it's maybe more useful to get people more involved. If you want to get more people involved, people need to see why they should be involved.
Okay, and see some result of things they say or
exactly.
For me, it was like, okay, people want to see this, but like also how can you gauge people? And the finding was that actually, playfulness is a really good way to get people engaged and get engaged in co-creation, which is really hard. Like it's hard to tell someone like, hey, come up with an idea, but then if you use play, use it as a way for people to really, I don't know, be more creative.
Yeah,
everyone can be creative actually, but with these more playful ways of doing it, it can come out.
Yeah,
and it was also for me a really conclusion was like, designers, the role of the designer is changing, and I think the urban planner too. Designers are becoming more facilitators. We don't have the truth, like we sometimes don't even use the space or this object, but other people do. So we need to include other people in this and do it in a fun way.
In a fun way, because the fun was really an important part of it all.
It's what made Fluke. Like I think Fluke built up an aesthetic and also a way of thinking and a way of communicating.
Yeah, and people often said too, like, this makes me feel like a kid again. And that's like, I think, a really interesting point, that like when you are a kid, you're able to be very creative and you're very able to play. But then when you become an adult, it becomes, all of these more strict kind of.
You have many filters, guidelines.
And I think too, when people saw us being a bit weird and playful and kind of childlike in space, that gave them also confidence that they weren't the only weird ones, because I think a lot of people have this desire and they want to, and people really like were like joyful,
Yeah.
It
also the fact that we were creating this like common project for people. Like it was really nice to see that there are so many talented people, so many people with interest in doing stuff and bringing up their skills and using them.
Exactly. No, I'm very inspired. And I didn't know that you did it, like you studied 2 different programs and you did this together. It's very inspiring, because I also did my thesis with a friend, and we didn't study the same. So I want to hear from you, like what's the interesting, because we have many students listening to us.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe they also thinking that, okay, maybe they have a friend in another university.
Yeah.
So maybe they can combine it. So like, what did you gain by this collaboration, like from the personal level? You take your moment to think, like, what was the fun? What did you learn? And
But it's just, I think that at the end, it was, we were working, I was working with Tatiana, and of course, the background, what you were studying was really, it was, you were studying urban planning. But I think what was so nice was actually to work with her as a person and take more like your background, like.
You mean urban planning is not good?
No.
But in
No,
the
just kidding.
thesis too, like a lot of papers were talking about co-design is this new kind of field in design, and architecture and urban planning are the last of the design principles because the processes are so scaled up. In her processes, and I think that was the really interesting part for me, is to kind of explore a new way of urban planning and maybe a very temporary and programmatic kind of way, especially event-based, because if you do events get people together and they get people talking about a common goal instead of having a workshop where it's maybe if it's just has to be reframed, you know? Mm. So I think this interdisciplinary, it's very kind of risky as well. I mean, there were so many times where I was just like very anxious a bit, like, oh, is this going to work? I have no clue. And then in the end, if you really trust yourself and trust your intuition in some way or manner, it will work out. But I think it's really the first step to take the jump of interdisciplinary work. You can't, it's crazy. It's very hard to plan, and it's very, it's uncertain. So you have to be okay with the uncertainty and roll with it, and hope that any flukes come out of it.
So what is now? Like, you still doing things together?
Yeah, like we never stopped, actually.
Yeah.
I
Really?
think, yeah. Since the thesis, we got in contact after we presented with Art Movements, or actually, I think that they got in contact with us. They had us in the back of their mind. And also, after the thesis, we really had something to show. Exactly. At the beginning, we didn't know what we could do. And then at the end, we were like, wow, this is all we did. And they saw that. You know, we actually have our Instagram that we used a lot, Fluke Stockholm, and we were documenting our process. That was kind of where we were keeping it all. So I think they followed us. And then they got in contact, and they actually have access more easily to spaces within Stockholm. Like, we had super easy access to Lappis. Yeah. They had more access to these other spaces.
Yeah,
exactly. And then they wanted to bring us to form a collaboration, you know, an interdisciplinary collaboration.
And actually with Stad as well. So the idea was in Järnsvägsparken, in this place in Tisdagen, this kind of non-place, they wanted to do kind of Stad, Art Movements, and now Fluke. We're going to kind of make this kind of final event. So we created this like fall fair, and it was framed as this is going to be an urban experiment. We invited Rosa, she did an art exhibit. We invited like all of our friends that like to do different things, and we just kind of, in the same fashion, just flooded this very weird space that no one actually visits with a bunch of different fun activities and said, well, what if? You know, what if this was here? What if there was...
Yeah, you show like an example of how this place can be activated.
Exactly. So it's, a lot about place activation. So that went on. We were also always doing stuff in Lappis. We had Hollow Week. We had this gingerbread house competition.
Yeah.
And then...
Very event sort of things. And then again, Art Movements, we got in contact with them, and they were interested in doing this kind of event in under Liljeholmen.
Yeah.
Which is a industrial kind of bridge. Not many people walk by it, and it's on a floating pontonen. So this floating platform that is changing. The city, Stockholm Stad, is trying to change the function all the time of this space.
Okay.
And they are using it because it is really a really cool space, this floating thing. Yeah. So they wanted to do this like co-created kind of light festival, and co-create this piece of art with LEDs that were like stripped onto like this semi-transparent material. And in the end, it was so many people participated and put on their LEDs, and
a maze.
It was a maze,
Cool.
So we co-created this maze, and it was in December. It was -11 and -12 degrees the first day. We also worked with like Farfabriken, the Contemporary Art Museum, and would have a few workshops there.
Yeah.
So essentially, we wanted to do this winter placemaking project that was co-creative, artistic. And so we co-created a galaxy with people. And then on the second weekend, we had, in the same manner as Lappis Summer Dream Day, this kind of flood of activities. And I think the flood and like it's very a big, like a boom, you know, it creates a more lasting impression in people's mind than just one small thing. You know?
So this is like your strategy, right?
Yeah, like.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it is a strategy.
So like you still work with it, right? Or you do stuff now.
Yeah.
What is the next, like what is going to happen?
Well, now we're working with Haninge kommun, and specifically Handen, this like outside the Pendle Talk station.
Yeah.
There's Centrum for AMP. They're a nonprofit that is working to
make
with
the space
different
better.
areas.
Yeah, they're working with real estate organizations. They're working with the commune. They're working with different businesses in the area as well. And they're trying to, essentially, they've had this new urban development where it used to be this tunnel, but they've opened it up.
Yeah.
So it's a totally kind of brand new space, but it's very concrete and gray, and it's under construction still.
Yeah, it's full. It's flooded with construction. So what they are trying to do is bring more activities into the space. And one of these activities is us. And we are not only just bringing like games and fun into the space, we're also creating like trust with the people that are passing by, and, you know, putting our faces, saying, hey, Hanningentre, which is kind of like Centrum for AMP, let's say, is in the space. We're working to do stuff. We're going to bring more activities, more fun, and we are working there. We're developing tools to
that's what the rake is for.
Exactly.
So so the rake, we have to go there later, and we're making pretty much this wayfinding. This rake that we brought to Afri. We're making this wayfinding thing that people can really we're going to have Velcro, and people are going to be able to place where they're going with a little marker. So we're just kind of making these playful. So last week we did a game on the floor where you threw a huge dice. You got a direction, and then you had to describe what's there, and then always reframe it. Well, what's here too?
Wow, this is cool.
So.
But wait a minute. Like your thesis, did you made it like a placemaking tool or something? Like, did you publish the methodology in a more of like
I mean, it is published on KTH
like as a thesis,
portal,
but as a like how to say a handbook or guide.
We were talking with Placemaking Europe because we had a meeting with them, and they were saying, we showed them this process, and they were like, wow, it would be great to have it as a process, as this, or as a tool. So that's part of our future projects too, to actually work
like put it on
and make it available to people.
Make it like this, available, kind of like that they can use all of our different tools. Put it on Placemaking Europe and other sites.
Why you don't do that?
Because there's so many events, and we just keep getting like.
Yeah, I mean this project with Hanningentre, it came in, and then there will be more, but we'll definitely take time to do it.
This is important.
To document.
And we really love making tools and coming up with cool ways of doing things and fun. So I think we will continue doing more tools.
Yeah,
this is so cool. But do you have like a company now, or no? You do it like by your own?
So right now how we worked previously, we were just kind of like working by our own. But now we're making the company. That's another thing too, because we're trying to make this economic friendly.
Of course.
Exact. So I'm in Swedish courses now, and the thing is, to make an economic founding, you have to do all of the bylaws and things in Swedish.
Yeah.
Which is So we're right now working on like as we speak, working on the bylaws, and but for now we're just kind of working as personal, like under our person numbers.
But in a way, it's kind of like, it feels like we do have already this established organization. You know, we have this name, we have kind of like how we communicate our followers, and so it does feel like it is established.
But we're not official,
formal.
You just like need to put it on paper.
Exactly. It's just the putting it on paper in Swedish, which is just the hardest part. If it was in English, it would be done.
What is like the challenges that you're facing when you're doing such stuff? Like, I see the language, of course. What are the other challenges?
Language. People. Another challenge too, I guess, in co-creative work is that you really have to frame it, but you don't want to give person one idea that it's going to look like this, because people will get very centered on that. So it has to be a very open and flexible process, and people need to be able to see, oh, I can like this.
Like, you need to inspire, but not force.
Exactly, and there's so many ways that you could design something, and we even have the problem too. We'll think of one design, and it's like, oh, we have to do it with wood, and we have to hammer it in. And then, lo and behold, a friend comes and says, no, you actually should just use Velcro. And it's like, we could do that. That's because you get so tunnel visioned, and like you put these horse blinders on, and you're just like walking. We have to do it like this.
But I think that's really why we also are, you know, opening and having more people that are interested in this, helping and like, you know, exploring what they want to explore. But actually, I want to say another challenge is probably like with the whole part of engaging people, like you can't take for granted that people are going to just interact with you, especially if you are not from that space. you don't really know the people. So you need to also, a challenge is to, build that trust. It's not that it's impossible. It's really possible, but it takes this time, and you need to really understand.
But does it take, because like now when we work in a project, we don't have so much time to build a trust. Like what you did in your thesis, you had like so many months, you had a Facebook group, but now we don't have.
Yeah.
So like, is it possible to build a trust in a very few days or maybe hours?
I would say yes, through playfulness, and through it really helps.
Yeah.
Because we've been in 2 occasions in Handen, and actually now we're going to stop going. We were kind of building trust, and it was 2 weeks. And I think that already in those 2 weeks, people were passing by, and then they would come the week after, and we would say like, "Hey, hi, you're just being visible, and being visible in a familiar, fun, kind of caring way." I think that can really, I think you can do it. It's just about how you communicate. If you're with a suit, I don't think people will really open up so easily as if you're going with like crazy earrings maybe, or like, I don't know, some colorful clothes.
Yeah. And with a big dice in your hand.
Yes.
I think that helps a lot as well.
Yeah.
But trust is so important, but trust can also be really easily lost as well. So it's quite hard to make trust, but I think the most important part is not losing. And if there are trustful people, organizations that people trust, so you need to collaborate with them. Because if you just come in as this random, we're going to fix it all. No, you have to collaborate with the people that are already there, and you need to collaborate, with the organizations that already have people's trust. If you don't have much time, then that's the easy or more time efficient, I guess, way. Because they know the space, they're from there, it's easier.
Yeah. So if you summarize like what Fluke Stockholm, like the output.
Yeah.
Like let's say I call you. I'm a municipality. I call you. What will I get from all the playful activities you do? What will I get from you?
Well, can help co-create spaces if this is your idea. We can build this trust with people and establish communication, dialogues with them, gather opinions, desires, wishes, fears from people through our tools.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, we're also about bringing more fun and events and creating engaging spaces. So we could also do that, and
I think we will work at the smaller scale. I think it would be interesting too to work like with an organization, like AFRI, that's working at a really big scale, but we do the small scale event things and co-creative and artistic as well. So if a municipality called, I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah. So before we continue to the last section, I want to ask you, like you work with the product design and graphic design. What do you think about urban planners? Like the way, the way like we think, like you feel like, be very honest,
Okay. I mean, when we were doing the thesis, I was so amazed with,
because we are so slow.
You guys read so much. I feel like it's very theoretical. I was seeing Tatiana reading all the time so many things, whereas for us it's more like, kind of seeing inspiration, visual stuff, and doing it. So I think that was really kind of impressive to me. But it really also inspired me to become more in this sense.
Read more.
Read more, be more informed. Like, we're the theories behind this.
Yeah.
But then I think also, the scales that it is done is sometimes really difficult for me to understand, I see this and I think like, okay, for you, it totally makes sense. But I think like, for me, I just don't understand what this is, So sometimes I see these like, Instagram accounts that are like urban planners with these huge projects. And I think like, really, I think that this could maybe be made more understandable to like me, that I don't know what urban, planning is like this. But another thing is, I think that also stuck with me was this, like the whole permit stuff. I get there's like so many difficulties sometimes to get access to spaces. I did not know this. And I guess that it is kind of difficult to do projects sometimes, because that part takes a lot of time. Like talking to people takes time, but there's this other part.
Like getting permissions and
getting permission from the municipality or whatever organization that you're working with. I think, especially in Sweden, is
a bit too much. I feel it's a bit too much. I know, like they do
No,
it
it's
for
way
to
too
regulate,
much.
to make sure that everything will work, and afterwards, and nobody will get hurt, or like
Yeah,
nothing will
it's
happen.
very safe.
Yeah, it's super
very
safe. That's why,
but
like,
it's not as experimental. Yeah.
yeah, because it makes it to people, like maybe you have an idea, then you see the application and the time, you'd be like, okay, I don't want to do that.
Exactly. Then you
Yeah.
have to make an organization number, and then you have to find the funds, and then you
Yeah,
have
it's
to
like
get
a
the
lot of
grant.
you need to pay, and
It's very formalized here.
Exactly.
It's the most I think it's one of the most formal planning processes, especially for citizen participation. And I think coming from the US and in Spain, it's very more informally done, and it's kind of handled, and there are benefits to both,
Of course, like in my country, we did stuff without even asking,
Exactly.
But at the same time, like the city was very messy.
Exactly.
So here, like I said, the city is too perfect.
Yeah, it's too clean. Like, and I think it's too clean, and it's too
super clean.
It's so clean, and it's like it's really hard to see people's imprints on their lived environment, and it's not really easy to see. How can I make a difference here, because the state kind of handles it for me.
True.
So it's this interesting like aspect of Sweden, I think, of this top down kind of planning, but trying to do this bottom up approach, which doesn't
I think
always
more
mesh.
of our processes could really benefit urban planning.
I think the culture and the system here is that people, they don't do stuff outdoor, like to change or create, because the city should take care of this.
Exactly.
So because they pay taxes, and the city should do the job, and why should
it's a good job too. Like if you look at other countries, it isn't so good, so maybe people protest more. But here, it's clean, it's nice, but maybe it's missing this soul kind of aspect that people could really bring in.
Exactly. And I think
but maybe people are happy without doing such stuff. Did you reflect about this?
Yeah.
I mean, now we come here and we say, like, placemaking, co-create. Of course, the benefits, we know that it's good for economy, social life, but maybe people like are just happy and just like leave them alone.
It's interesting too, because like in Lappis, we have like all of the tenant association. It's hard to remember that was kind of fought for in the beginning, maybe in the 60s and 70s, and we have a workshop, we have a gym, we have saunas, and that just doesn't come for free, It's an ongoing, constant negotiation between power sources. So I think it's hard to remember, like, especially when it's all kind of really good now. But once it starts getting taken away, and that's what we're seeing in Lappis too, with the paddle court, it's an exclusive place that it costs money to enter, 200 crowns, but it still was a free space, and it only serves one function now. And the same as well with a lot of public and common spaces in SSSB as well, like all the common kitchens, or not all of them, they're starting to change them to single room apartments.
Okay.
But it's just interesting to, I guess, reflect on how common and how public should we be as a society, and what benefits are from this very individualized way of living. Because right now it's like, I think Jan Gehl says, like, the way, what does he say? Like we produce the city, and then the city produces us. Yeah. So it's this dialectical like process, and it's always, we produce something, and then that's going to impact us.
Yeah.
So the same process maybe we can see with, well, Swedish people are okay with being kind of left alone, but it's kind of, the system has been created so that they will be left alone, and it's reinforces that. So it's kind of, you need maybe these kind of things like Fluke that maybe question, like, is this how we actually want to do this?
Is it good for us? Like, you need to challenge the way of how we live.
Exactly.
And offer the opportunity to to do something, because I really feel like, for example, I'm getting now more engaged with the community in Lappis, and you get so much from it. Like, it's so rewarding. So I think that if it's also about offering this opportunity for people to get engaged. Maybe they don't know that this is actually something that would be amazing, that is actually nice. Maybe they're happy in their comfort zone, but this is also kind of takes you out of your comfort zone. And if we can offer that and maybe kind of trigger people with these questions. And
I think this is the interesting thing that we bring here to this country, is that you show an alternative, and then you let people decide if they like it, so they will join and make a change. If they don't like it and they feel like it's too much for me, okay, then that's fine. Yeah, you keep the respect. But I think it's always good to show the alternative and see the benefits. Yeah,
doesn't have to be like designed this way. It can be designed another way. And it's really exploring. I think Fluke is exploring kind of what are the possibilities and what are the possible routes and possible designs that we could come up with. And then it's kind of like testing them out on a very low scale. And then because that's the thing that urban planners, we never test out.
We don't have time.
We don't have time.
I mean,
we
you test and
can't-
then you wait like for 3 years, then you know it's too long.
So it's cool too, especially for these, I guess, smaller things that happen within like public space. Yeah, let's test it out as a community. You get to hang out with people and have, because a lot of people, I think, especially not only in Sweden, but just like in like the current world, are very lonely. It's very hard to find and make friends. And especially a lot of us coming from other countries, I think the hardest part about Sweden is the lack of sociality. So it's,
and also like about this that maybe urban planning might also be shifting, and urban planning and urban design, not so, because there's a lot of infrastructure created, but what do we do with the spaces that, you know, already exist?
Exactly.
Maybe there has to be more importance put to the social sustainability within these spaces that are already existing, and how can,
and not designing totally new spaces, but using what we already have,
like redesign or rethink the existing spaces.
Exactly. And how they're functioning and where people meet in, and how a good example, I guess, is Hornstull Market as well. Before now, I think that's one of the biggest meeting points. I see so many people when I'm working there. I'm there every weekend. Like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in. And that is, I think, a very Fluke thing as well. It's this very serendipitous exchange, and that's, I think, a very vibrant part, and gives the city this soul. You know, this authentic. You never know what's around the corner, because in Sweden it's very planned, it's very formal. You know what's happening around the corner. I know I'm not going to see graffiti. You know,
but I think we also want to like bring people together, like different, you know, events, activities, places, but also find maybe something in common. Like we've done some events that were about more like arts and, you know, culture and exhibitions and stuff, and maybe like in Hornstull a lot of people are together, so can we do something that kind of unites them? Exactly. So we're also exploring that.
So we did an Easter egg hunt again in Hornstull. It wasn't like as much like a mapping exercise, but
just more fun.
Yeah,
you know?
and so many people were, especially kids, like, where are the eggs? We need to, and
getting excited and like offering something more.
But some people would also be like, well, how much does it cost? And it's like, no, it's free.
Yeah, because they are not used to this.
Exactly.
And this is, I think this is the beauty of that we are so diverse. So every one of us brings something to the table, and then I learn something from you, I learn something from you, and then we put together some kind of reality.
Exactly.
So it's I like what you do, and I hope you keep doing what you do. It's because we need it, like show the option. Spaces can be used like this.
There's many possible futures that exist within urban space.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can always just shift things, just even with really cheap materials. We mostly use like cardboard and very like tape, a lot of cheap materials.
What was the pizza?
The pizza boxes.
Yeah, we need to eat pizza. So
we need to eat pizzas. We need to support the economy, the local economy too.
Yeah. So it was interesting reflection. Thanks for sharing. And now we are in the last section, and it's more going to be about like what do you think? Like it's more related to cities, yourself, and so on. And urban planners. So we start with you, Nicole. What skills should urban planner learn?
Yeah, I mean, this has talked about this also a lot, and maybe bringing down the scale down closer to maybe what product designers, service designers do, which is a lot closer to the people, and like bringing in these kind of skills, processes that are more like short term and use a lot more visual elements and many different tools, and so bring that up into this scale that you guys work in.
And maybe like flexibility.
Oh yeah, flexibility, definitely. Like in our thesis we were really and I think that in all the events that we've done, we've really been open to like, okay, well, this is not working, let's change this, let's do it in a different way, because there's actually so many ways of doing things that, you know, we have this problem. Maybe we will focus in on one, but when you also collaborate, you talk with other people, you find that actually there's many other ways.
Exactly.
What are the skills that we are missing? Kind of.
I think when you collaborate, you have to take a bit of your power, or you have to level the playing field of power. And I think that collaborating just really allows so many different voices, and sometimes it can get a bit cluttered with ideas and controversy. But I think what we really need to do as urban planners is, and I wrote a bit about this in my thesis, is like create this agnostic space. It's Chantal Mouffe. She's a political philosopher. But we need to have a space where we can really come together in public and talk about, well, which kind of project and which kind of future do we want to create? So we need to be okay that conflict isn't always necessarily bad. We need to talk to each other, because in the thesis as well, there was so many conflicts as well.
Yeah.
And when people do come to the table and have this agnostic kind of like discussion, they're more likely to respect the other decision. At least you heard what I had to say, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, they don't listen to me at all, I'm going to just like hold this grudge forever. And I think that that's something that urban planners can really do a good job of opening up this debate, because it's always a very political question that we have.
It's not easy, you know, like it's a complex, and because so many different players involved in this game and so on. But hopefully we're learning this.
Yes, I think we are.
Yeah,
I hope.
So, and the next question is, if you will be another creature, like something else, not as you in this body as a human, what will you choose to be?
In my case, I would be cardboard, because it's a really flexible material. People can be like really, it allows to do so many things.
Yeah.
And prototype. And
people throw it out a lot too.
They throw it out. It's everywhere. Everyone
so
has cardboard.
Does it reflect you? As a Nicole?
I mean, I think that I like to try out different things, be experimental and playful. And I grew up using cardboard boxes all the time. And making notebooks or making houses and just being. I think that's why I like using this material too.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's so great. It's amazing material.
It's amazing.
Amazing, Nicole.
Amazing.
The cardboard girl. We should make a cardboard sculpture. Call me cardboard.
And you, Tatiana?
So Nicole and I always joke that the thing that also really brought Fluke together was buying a glue gun. And I love my glue gun so much. And I think that, a glue gun really describes me. Glue really, I mean, hot glue.
Glue or a glue gun?
Glue gun.
Both, only the gun.
The gun with the glue
Okay,
inside.
with the glue.
With the glue. The binding agent is a very important aspect of this.
And how does it reflect you? Like,
I think I really like to bind different groups together and see how these two groups can really benefit from working with each other. And I think, especially with cardboard as well, working to bind different pieces of cardboard and things of this manner so that people can see these new connections within the city, within their neighborhood. And so in my thesis too, I talked to this co-designer. His name is, he works in Denmark, Monthkas. I can't remember his first name, but he writes a really cool paper about how co-design of the city is really about connecting ties and unloosening old ties in the city. And it's always just bringing new collaborators together and creating these ties that you want to kind of see happen. So that's kind of the role of the planner as well, of this finding the collaborators. And there's so many actors.
Them together.
Yeah, you two work together. You four work together. So
glue them together.
You glue them together. And then it's not so malleable where it's stuck. You can break off glue as well. Yeah. So it's not
a permanent. I hope you're not a permanent glue.
No, I'm not permanent glue.
And what are your hobbies? Because sometimes, if you're super passionate about your job, then it becomes your hobby. How is it in your case? Do you have other hobbies than creating stuff and events and being out with people?
I like being outdoors, exercising, climbing. I really like. It's really nice to combine physical exercise with mental exercise. You really need to think when you're climbing. Oh, am I going to step here or there? What's going to happen? So I really like that. But I really think that Fluke was born because of who we are, you know?
Okay.
And we're social people. It's if you ask us what we like doing, we don't like being indoors all the time. or we're on a walk. Tatiana walks a lot, and
I'm a walker.
and when we meet people, we cook, we play board games, we do these things. So that's why also Fluke is in a way also sometimes a hobby, because it allows also even to do graphic design, explore, like create stuff.
Yeah. And I love the internet too. Like the internet, that's my hobby. No, but like I always joke, so like I was born in 97, and that's like right around this. I think I'm one of the first Gen Z. So I've just grown up with the internet as such an integral part of my life. Always like on on Messenger and things like chat rooms when I was like, a young child. So I think that's really an integral part. And I think the internet's amazing, and it can also have like a lot of negative benefits too, but it allows you to connect with so many different things. Yeah. And I love social media too. Like, I'm not going to lie. So the Instagram and the Facebook, not as much, but
TikTok.
We should.
We should.
We make reels, but not TikTok.
You can just put them there as well.
I had TikTok, but then I got so obsessed with it that I had to delete it. And I also actually needed to download this Voy app. Yeah, I didn't have enough space on my phone. And I was like,
you need to sacrifice.
I had to sacrifice, and it was like 2 gigs of data, and I was like,
okay.
If this is 2 gigs of data, I can do without that. I need to get on the scooter and go.
Yeah. Cool. So now we have the final 2 questions, and I hope it's fine for you if I make a video of you, and so I put it on Instagram. Is it fine? Yeah. Cool. Okay, let me open the camera. Okay, so yes, the first question is going to be about each one of you giving me, the listeners, 3 takeaway messages. So Nicole, please start.
Well, small interventions, they do have an impact. It may not seem like it, but just, they can inspire so much of what it could be. Then also, playfulness is really a great way for people to, unleash, become more free, more fun, more creative. And then that there's always like a link between you and another person that's walking right next to you. Maybe you live in the same neighborhood, you didn't know each other, but you could know each other. So there's always people around you. You're not alone. And
and I guess my takeaways would be, first, we all have this right to the city. We have this right to not only like consume the city and kind of give what is handed to us, but we also have this right to co-produce collectively. I think second, that power kind of needs to be renegotiated at all times, and it's always this constant like state of becoming, and you always kind of have to fight and not kind of take for granted what was kind of won previously in the past. And third, that a lot of things can happen on Fluke Encounter, so it's serendipitous kind of exchanges are kind of what creates this kind of magical feeling, I think, in the city, and I think that's what we're really trying to encompass as well.
Super interesting. And the last question or questions is going to be asked by you. So each one of you ask me and the listener 1 question. So what is your question to us?
How can you bring more playfulness into your life and into your field, your practice?
And Tatiana, what is your question to us?
We had the same question, actually. I don't
really?
have one. Yeah. But I can come up with one. Like, how are you reflecting on a daily basis on your practice?
Cool. Like a deep...
Deep.
Nice. No, I'm very happy that we recorded this episode, and I am looking forward to like follow up. I think you have so many interesting projects going on, and hopefully this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Hope as well.
Yeah,
hoppas.
This is the only Swedish word.
Bra. Mycket bra.
Cool. Tatiana, Nicole, thank you so much for coming to A-Free, to the podcast studio to record the episode, and hopefully talk to you more in the coming episode.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See ya.
Bye.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.